if you look at the story step by step as to what actually happened, you come away with not the image of a loving creator God. You come away with this concept of an omniscient God who conspired to completely set up the fall. I mean, putting Adam and Eve in a garden and posting a tree there and saying, "Don't eat that," is kind of like putting a toddler in a crib with a loaded gun. And then when they shoot, when they shoot their leg off, now in addition to missing a leg, you're going to beat them, weekly. Once a week, I'm just going to beat you because you shot that gun. That's kind of the way that original sin and punishment for that comes. But the thing that the Gnostics pointed out, and others have as well, is that if you look at the story, you've got God telling them, "Don't eat that fruit on the day you eat it, you will surely die." And then you have the serpent, who later is recast as Satan. But there's a lot of other stories in Babylonian myths and things that are similar, so it's not quite so clear. But he comes along and says, "That's not true. You're not going to die when you eat that. You're going to learn. You're going to have knowledge." And he doesn't want you to have that. And what happens is they eat the fruit, they get the knowledge, and they don't die. So you have the serpent there who's actually telling them the truth.
Right.
And God's the one that lied to them.
So they have to go back and backfill it, rationalize it, say, "Oh, well, that was really,
a spiritual death."
Spiritual death.
Yeah. They were immortal before that.
Yeah. They meant something else. If sin is part of human nature, then the Creator's responsible. So
there's a little bit of a problem of evil aspect in there, which is something, without actually doing the whole problem of evil argument. If you have the idea of an omniscient and omnipotent creator, so I can create, if I'm this creator, I can create any universe I want with any rules that I want, and I know ahead of time what all the results are going to be.
Right.
That means that this particular God, with those qualities, specifically created this universe, knowing in advance everything that would ever happen. And because he had options, that means he specifically created a world where Adam and Eve sinned and did the fall for man. And also, that means he has handpicked who's going to be saved at the end and who's not, because he had other options available to him and didn't choose them. And that's where Calvin and the others get this predetermination and predestination.
Sure. So to be real clear, I mean, God could have created this garden, if it existed at all, without this tree, right? He could have put the tree outside the garden. And that would have been a better situation according to the story, right? Because then there would be no evil in the world, right? Supposedly. I think the free will question is kind of interesting. Did Adam have a free will? Did they have a free will? Well, maybe they did, but they didn't have the knowledge to make intelligent decisions.
Yeah.
So free will is like useless without knowledge.
If Adam and Eve didn't have knowledge of good and evil until after they ate the tree, then you can't possibly hold them responsible for eating the tree that they didn't realize was actually bad.
Right. So we have this original sin problem, this horrible problem that has to be solved somehow. So how do we solve it? We bring Jesus into the picture. It's my understanding that the whole concept of original sin doesn't exist in the Old Testament at all.
Right.
And that it was actually glommed on to this Jesus story as a justification for this sacrifice thing, right? Right.
That's so when the devil was reworked as the serpent.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So we have this sacrifice meme, this unjust punishment meme, right? That is very powerful. I mean, everybody can relate to being punished unjustly, right? That is a very powerful notion, and so you have to, and this thing is kept taking hold. And how do you justify it? Well, you have to backfill and say, well, this relates back to this fall of mankind that didn't really exist until until much later, when you're trying to use it as a rationalization. God has to have this blood sacrifice for this earlier problem that he created. And why do you have to have a blood sacrifice? Who's making up the rules? Well, right. God is. And it's all just,
it's really absurd.
It just doesn't make any sense.
There was a
guy, you have all this drama going on in explanation of nothing. The real problem here is you can't transfer a moral debt.
If you willingly sacrifice yourself, knowing without any doubt that you're going to be raised up again in 3 days and live forever in heaven, and oh, by the way, I am God. What kind of sacrifice is that really?